All right, mock draft time. I know it's early, but it's at least fun to kind of get a gauge of like some of the players that would be available for the Seattle Seahawks come draft time. If you're new to the channel, we are Detroit Lions fans, but we have this channel fully dedicated to teams that just don't get the love nationally like they should. Seahawks, you're one of those teams, and we like talking about you. Here is a tackle that out of Texas, Cameron Williams, that would just be so fun to have. Look at this. He's like, well, linebacker, you're coming in. Crunch. Folds up a linebacker like it's nothing. And I mean, we'll look at two mock drafts, full 7-rounders. And so let me know in the comments where you're at with this team. Just scale 1 to 10. 10 being so confident, love the future, head coach, quarterback, everything's just in place, got it. A 0 being like tear everything down and I hate it all. I don't think you're there, but are you a 3, 4? I think if I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, I'm an 8. You won 10 games. Bad offensive line. I got to be feeling good. Fix the offensive line and make that a strength, and let's go. It's not going to be easy, but, I mean, you can definitely do it. Okay, let's take a look at this. I've got 2 for you, and they're both a little different. I think I like that. So, in the thumbnail, you saw Deion Walker, defensive tackle out of Kentucky. He's 6'6", 350. Could be perfect at about this 18 mark. Early 20s. He can play defensive end or defensive tackle. So that's kind of how crazy this guy is. And let me show you what I'm talking about. He doesn't even look almost right. I know that sounds terrible. I don't know what I'm saying when I say that, but it's like, oh, you're a D tackle. He literally looks like a D tackle and a defensive end in one. Look at that. He can just be a D tackle. Just grabs the guy. You're down. Thank you. All right, D tackle. Well, he can rush in. Still got quickness, lateral movement. Here he is at D tackle again. A spin move like a defensive end disrupts. So there's just a good player going to be available for you at 18. That's why I'm like a 7, 8, 9. I mean, really, you're not like missing out on anybody at pick 18. You're not. So you go back to it here. Let's go to, as we look at this mock draft. Yeah, you got Deion Walker, love it. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, don't love it. I don't know. You either stick with Geno or you do everything you can to get the top of the draft and make a trade and get one of the top 2 quarterbacks. I don't like just kind of dinking around here with a second rounder. Tight end with your 3rd round pick. Okay. I don't hate that either. And then you go corner, offensive tackle, offensive guard late in the draft here. You can see picks rounds 4, 6, and 7. I think you really attack. Everyone says don't chase positions. I don't buy that. I think you've got holes, and the draft is a way to fill that, right? Like let's be real. So I think you go offensive line right out of the gates here. Let's take a look at another mock draft that I think kind of fits a lot better of what you're trying to do. Here it is. This is the guy I showed you earlier, Cameron Williams, the guy that this dude. Let's just look at it one more time. I was kind of in the way there, but yeah, star, right? Just kind of a star defensive tackle. Exactly what you want, everything that you want. Here he is again. Let me pull this one up for you. And he's out pulling now. Oh. Goodbye. Just push you over like it's nothing. So I like that a lot. Get that star offensive lineman. Let's do it. Then you go wide receiver, then D tackle in pick 3. And then in pick 4, you go back to the offensive line with William and Mary. Then there's a safety, Malachi Moore out of Alabama, stud. Then there's that tight end, right? So I just think if I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, I have to be thinking to myself, I want to have a good offensive line. I want to see Geno Smith behind a good offensive line. Then from there, I can decide. But up until this point, It's been shaky. He's had a couple different coaches, and he still wins 10 games, keeps you right in there. So that's what I would do. Now, another thing that's kind of interesting is there's been some talk about some other offensive tackles that could be available. So I won't go through all of them, but there's I looked them up. I looked up all of the offensive tackles and offensive guards that can be available next year. Perfect example would be he's currently on the Detroit Lions. That's Kevin Zeitler. If you think, man, that sounds familiar. Yeah, it's 'cause he's been in the league for 15 years. He's 35 years old, but he's just kind of looking for that 1-year deal. He's an example. Now, I don't think he specifically, but you're not looking for franchise-altering, franchise 15-year guys that you're trying to pick up. I think you're trying to piece this together for a year to see what you have with Geno Smith, meaning you can get a guy like Zeitler who's looking for one more 1-year deal, like probably the last year, but he can do enough. Veteran guy, come in, settle down your right guard position or a center. That's what you got to get in free agency and draft guys. Your offensive line is I just keep saying it. You can't be bad with a good offensive line. It's impossible. So invest everything into that. Go with Geno Smith for another year. Absolutely go with Geno Smith for another year. So again, I won't go through all of them. I had them all pulled up, but there's a lot of free agents that could work. There just really is. It's like, get them. And get them knowing they're not going to be like your star. It's not like you get these guys like, all right, we need you for the next 10 years. No, it's like, I just need you for 1 year. It's 1 year at a time. Now, another thing I thought was really interesting, you had some defensive backs, specifically Kobe Bryant, that just breakout season. And I think what's interesting about him is that you've got the coach to help you defensively. You've got star defensive players. You can look at your defense as a whole and be like, okay, you know what? After those first few games when we couldn't stop the run, we had to make the trade for Ernest Jones. Our defense was good. How nice is that? That your defense is good. So now you can focus on the offensive line. So let me know in the comments your confidence rating for sure. You can see, again, we didn't want to dive too deep into these mock drafts just because there's so many and there's going to be so many and the draft's not for 3 months. So it's fun to look at, though. It's just like, okay, man, we can get better overnight with the players that if we focus on the offensive and defensive lines, I just don't think you can ever go wrong. Because it's the same thing when you look at the wide receivers. There's guys out there wide receiver-wise that you can pick up free agency as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see all of you on the next one.